Hello and welcome to another video. I hope that you are all very well. Today I'll be talking about where to park and where not to park in the UK. We'll take a look at both off-road and on-road parking. However, before I go on any further, I want to say a big thank you to all our current subscribers, because without you guys, this video today would not be possible. If you're watching this channel and you're not a subscriber, well, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button right now so that you do not miss out on our future videos. The best place to park would be a car park. So let's start off with that, shall we? There are car parks where you have to pay to park in them. They are usually private car parks. And there are car parks that are completely free of charge. These are usually council car parks. The most important thing is that you read the signage, that you read the general terms and conditions of the car park. Things to bear in mind generally, the first thing is that when you're parking in the car park, make sure that you park in your dedicated bay, that you do not park on or over the lines. Otherwise, you could end up with a fine. Some bays may be reserved, for example, for disabled drivers, for drivers with young children, or for brown badge holders. The brown badge scheme is a relatively new scheme operated by a few councils. It allows their residents who do not qualify for a disabled blue badge because their disability is not permanent. So they've got a temporary disability, and the brown badge allows them to park closer to their destination. There may be additional restrictions. In this example, the maximum amount of time that a person is allowed to park is limited to 4 hours. Other restrictions to be wary of are, for example, no overnight parking or no return within a certain period of time. Let's move on to on-street parking. Here you will find free parking places, restricted parking places, and places where no parking is allowed at all. We'll start off by looking at bays, dedicated bays on the road for parking. Some of them can be really confusing. Some bays are reserved for certain vehicles or drivers. This could be a doctor, an ambulance, disabled user, or a car club. You may come across bays which are reserved for electric vehicles. Now, just because you got an electric vehicle, it doesn't mean that you're allowed to park there completely free of charge, because the bays will normally have a restriction to say that you can only park there while you are charging your vehicle. So if you've got an electric vehicle and you're charging it, then no problem at all to park there. But if you're not charging the vehicle and you just left it there, then you could end up with a penalty ticket. There are also loading bays, loading and unloading bays. These are normally for large vehicles delivering goods to the shops. However, they can be used by car drivers as well, provided you are collecting goods which you have already prepaid for. So it's no point, you can't park the car in a loading bay, walk into the shop, spend an hour shopping, and then saying, oh, I'm loading it, because they will look at your receipt and see the time that you made the payment. You need to make the payment first, and then you park the vehicle and load the goods on. You may also come across metered bays on the road. These you have to pay. You either put coins onto them, or some of them you can pay electronically to park your vehicle for a certain period of time. Now, one of the things you have to remember with these metered bays is they cannot be topped up later. So if you decide that you wanted to park your vehicle for 2 hours, you've paid for 2 hours. Let's say after 1.5 hours, you say, oh, I need to be there for another hour. Let me just put another £1 in there. That is not allowed. You have to physically move your vehicle onto a different road and park it and then pay again. Outside of these hours, for example, before 8 a.m. and after 6:30 p.m., it's usually free parking. However, this is not always the case. In this example, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., it's free parking for residents or paid parking for anybody else up to a maximum of 3 hours. However, outside these hours, it's not free parking for all, but only free parking for residents. Occasionally, between the row of bays, you may find a single yellow line running along the road, or even a double yellow line. Sometimes you may find these yellow lines just along the road where there's no boxes, even no bays. A single yellow line, when you see a single yellow line, you will always find a time plate that has the restrictions on it. These restrictions can be for any amount of hours between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. In this example, the yellow line is in force between the hours of 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Sunday would be free parking. The double yellow line is exactly the same as a single yellow line, but with added restrictions. For example, if the council wanted no parking until 10 p.m, then they cannot use a single yellow line, because a single yellow line will only go up to 7 p.m. So a single yellow line is no parking between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. The exact hours will be on the time plate. Usually it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can stop on a single yellow line to pick up or drop off passengers. Furthermore, you can even load or unload. However, a word of warning: watch out for the yellow strip or strips on the curb. One strip means no loading during certain hours of the day, whereas 2 strips means no loading at all. Some London councils will use red lines instead of the yellow ones. The red lines are the red routes. This basically means no parking, no stopping, not even to pick up or drop off passengers, and no loading and unloading. The double red line is exactly the same as a single red line, but with the restrictions being 24 hours a day, 7 days per week. On some red routes, you may find some bays. These bays are often near the stations, where the councils do allow parking, but for a very restricted period of time, usually about 20 minutes, just enough time to drop somebody off, or if you're waiting for somebody to arrive. If it's a fairly long road, rather than the council spending time and money painting miles of road, instead they use a clearway zone. At the start of the zone, there will be a sign, a clearway sign. It's a red circle with a red cross inside it. The clearway means no parking, no stopping, not even to pick up passengers or drop them off. The sign is in force 24/7. At the start of the clearway zone, there will be a note underneath the sign indicating the length that it is valid for. It may say 5 miles, 10 miles, etc. Next, we're going to take a look at parking on zigzag lines. Here in the UK, there are two types of zigzags. We've got the white zigzag lines and the yellow ones. The yellow zigzags are often found outside schools. However, you may occasionally see them outside a hospital, fire station, or even a police station. Whenever you see the yellow zigzags, it will always be accompanied by a time plate. Stopping on the zigzags is strictly prohibited during the times stated on the plate. These are the hours that the children are either coming to school or going home and want to cross the road. Let's move on to the white zigzag lines. These are found on approach to pedestrian crossings, whether it be an uncontrolled crossing such as a zebra crossing or a controlled crossing such as pelican lights. Unlike the yellow zigzags, you will not find a time plate here. The white zigzags are in force 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No parking, no stopping, not even to pick up or to drop off passengers, not even for 1 second. If you do park on the zigzags, it's not just a fine, you will even get penalty points from your license, deducted from your license. Next, let's take a look at parking outside somebody else's house. Here in the UK, homeowners do not have a legal right to park outside their house, which means that anybody can park outside somebody else's house. However, you do need to take into consideration any parking restrictions that are in force and also drop curbs. If I was to park here, I would block the entrance to the drive. It makes no difference whether there is a car in the driveway or not. I am not allowed to park blocking somebody's drive due to the drop curb. Talking about drop curbs, you're not allowed to park here either. You may be thinking, well, there's no driveways, why is the drop curb there? Well, it's for wheelchair users and for parents with prams and pushchairs. Many of the residential roads in the UK are quite narrow, and as a result, you will occasionally see other drivers parking on the pavement. However, the Highway Code states that in London and in Edinburgh, you must not either wholly or partly park on the pavement. As far as the rest of the country is concerned, at the moment you can. However, the Department of Transport is in the process of changing that so it lines up with the two capital cities. There's just one more thing I want to mention about parking in the UK, and that is, don't just think whether it's legal. Ask yourself, is it safe? Is it convenient? You wouldn't want to park right on the end of a junction because that definitely would not be safe. In fact, that's also illegal. By law, in the UK, you cannot park 10 meters away from a junction. Also, is it convenient? Now, as I mentioned, many of the roads in the UK are relatively narrow. So if you've got parked vehicles on one side of the road, you want to avoid parking directly opposite them if it means it's going to restrict the flow of traffic. Well, that's all we've got time for today. I really do hope that you've benefited from today's video. If you have, then I've got two requests. Firstly, give it a thumbs up, and secondly, do consider sharing this video with somebody else that you feel may benefit from it. Thank you for your time. Take care. Bye bye.